The first step is going to be to build some kind of a support structure inside of my desk space here. I'm just going to use scrap 1/2-inch plywood for that because you're not going to see it. I'll probably stain it dark so it kind of sort of matches. And let's go ahead and cut these pieces. I think I'm going to put them like this, so they kind of line up with my beveled skirt in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those and install those, and then we'll move on to the next step. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut a little 3/4 inch piece to nail to. I love it. CA glue is great to hold the piece in place so I can nail it in, and it also gives the regular wood glue time to dry. I'm only showing the work I did on one side, but obviously I repeated these steps on both sides. Clearly that is a piece of walnut and not a piece of plywood that I crudely stained dark. Next I need to measure how big this weird drawer can actually be. Where's my tape measure? Okay. So what I'm going to do is measure the frame. And I got 26 1/8, which means with my frame can be 25 1/8 wide. And I'm thinking 11 at the top is as big as I can make it. And that's how big I made the frame piece too here. So I'm going to make it 11 at the top with a 30-degree cut. Just dawned on me that the drawer box itself won't go all the way to the top, or I should say the bottom of the desk. So I'm actually going to take another 1/4 inch off of that because of the bevel. So it's going to be 10 3/4 at the top with a 30-degree angle. So moving on to the back and the front of the drawer box. So you don't want to see any end grain when you open the drawer. So all you should really see are the sides, just this continuous grain. So what I'm going to do is cut the front and the back of the box to be inside of the sides, except I'm also going to cut a small rabbet in here for it to join into. So what I'm going to do is take my 25 1/8 and subtract this distance, which is the two sides, then add a little bit more so it goes into this piece about 3/8, which is how deep the rabbet will be. Basically, my drawer slides are 1/2 inch wide, so the drawer box should be 1 inch narrower than the frame. Now I'm going to cut the 3/8 inch rabbet that I just talked about. I'm also going to cut a slot for this piece of plywood, which is going to be a floating bottom. First I cut a slot about 1/4 inch from the bottom of all the frame pieces. Then I use a test piece to cut the slot just wider than the material for the drawer bottom. Once I was happy with it, I cut the slot the same width on the rest of the pieces. I cut the front frame piece last. The setup was totally different because it had bevel cuts on both sides, and the slot for the drawer bottom was cut at a 30-degree angle so it would line up with the slots on the sides when installed. I used the slot in the side pieces as a reference to mark the location of the slot in the beveled front piece. The slot should allow the bottom to fit loose enough to install, but tight enough that the bottom doesn't rattle after the drawer box is assembled. I prepared my table saw to make the 3/8 inch deep rabbet cuts in the frame side pieces by installing a temporary sacrificial fence in the dado set. Then I set the width and depth of the cut. By the way, you can find a link to most of the products I use in this video in the video description. I assembled the frame sides and back using wood glue and brad nails. I measured the slot in the frame, then cut the drawer bottom to size, slid it into the frame, and attached the front of the frame with more glue and brad nails. This is one of my favorite new tricks. To fill the brad nail holes, I first filled them with wood glue and then immediately sanded the holes. The sawdust mixes with the wet glue to create a nice wood filler. Alright, our drawer box is all built. The next thing we need to do is install the slides onto the drawer box. Typically, I would install side mount slides at the bottom edge of a drawer. In this case, the bevel gave me more room for a longer slide near the top, so I mounted it higher. The longer slides allow the drawer to open further. My goal is to make the bottom of the drawer flush with this piece right here on the desk. It looks like it's about 1.5 inches from the bottom of the drawer to where the mounting holes should be. So I marked out my mounting holes in the frame to be 1.5 inches from the bottom edge. Now I'm going to measure straight back to my mounting hole from this front face to figure out how far back my bracket needs to be on the desk. The beveled front edge does not make this easy. That's why I'm using this adjustable slot. Looks like about 3 1/8. Be sure you mount your slide level. I've repeated these steps to mount the slide on the other side. I test fit the drawer and it was fitting just a little tight, so I used a card scraper to take just a little bit of width off the drawer box. After the adjustment, it fit perfectly. Now that the drawer was working properly, I removed the slides so I could do the final sanding and finishing. I sanded from 60 to 240 grit and then finished with Odie Super Duper Everlasting Oil. Once I was done finishing, I reinstalled the slides and put the drawer box back in the desk. Okay, the drawer's looking good. Now we're going to go ahead and install the front face and then make some final adjustments. A couple things to note on the face of the drawer itself. I actually put a 15-degree bevel on each of the edges so it'll fit nice and snug in there. And I also kept trimming it down a little bit at a time until it fit perfectly. I'm hoping to try to minimize any excessive gaps on either side once the drawer is closed. I'm also going to take about a blade's width off the top just to make sure the drawer can open and close without dragging on the desktop. Here's a trick for installing the drawer face. Use double-sided tape to hold the drawer in place where you want it. Then install the screws. Now remove the screws and the double-sided tape. Now you have pre-made holes to reinstall the face in the perfect location. Using the adjustment slots on the slides, make any adjustments needed for the drawer face to line up perfectly. You can even lightly sand the edges of the drawer face for fine adjustments. I guess it was possible after all to build a drawer with a beveled front face. Thanks for watching my video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that like and subscribe button and drop me a comment and let me know what you think of my drawer. See you guys. What's up everybody?